So we were talking about the power of imagination last week. And I don't know about you, but sometimes I think the power of my imagination is in overdrive. For example, listening to those gospel ministers on Monday, I went from listening to every word they were saying to questioning, how come I don't do any of that? Maybe I need to be a little louder. Maybe I need to move a little better. The same thing happened when I was listening to the choir members. I thought, gosh, some of these people are amazing voices. Why am I not singing like that? And it goes on and on and on, right? Okay, so I'm not alone? Okay. So then I speak to Elliot on Tuesday, and he tells me, Tanya has this song she is singing in the featured song spot today. I listened to this song, and I immediately felt like the lyrics reflected my imagination gone bad. For just a minute, I had to really think about that. And then I exchanged emails with Ron, and he had this amazing message for me that he found in a book that he flipped open to, like I like to flip open to. And then I realized this is what I needed to be speaking about today, that can passion combined with our imagination turn into chasing our lives, where we're just running, running, running. And will there ever be a time, has there ever been a time in our lives, will there ever be one if there hasn't, that we say, it's enough. I'm enough, it's enough, my life is enough. Instead of this need to do the next thing, and the next thing, and the next thing, which has been the story of my own life. But in the journey of life, the most profound truth that keeps eluding us is that realization that we are enough, just as we are, with what we have in this lifetime, on this day, in this place, that we are enough. It's a core belief in the unity principles and sits at the heart of our spiritual truth to know the importance of self-acceptance and self-love and self-worth and that inner peace that we all need. And when we understand that and we embrace that truth, divine truth, not the world's truth, then we are able to unlock our full potential and live life with that freedom. I've always felt that freedom to do whatever I needed to do, but I honestly can't say I've ever said, enough. It's enough. Believing we are enough can help us love ourselves unconditionally and live our best life, even if we never did another thing. And as I mentioned in Thursday's newsletter, I sometimes think that when we're running that race of life, we're doing it at the risk of never believing there's a finish line except our expiration date on this earth. Now think about that. Other than the day that we leave this earth, is there a time when we will say we've hit the finish line? A multitude of degrees ago, I said, there'll be a finish line, but there wasn't. And it's good for me that I feel good about the things I've done. It's good for you to feel good about the things you've done. But that question of wondering, comparing ourselves with others and comparing ourselves to other things and looking at that family member and this friend and that friend and the person on social media who has the perfect everything. And the reminders that you could get this, and if you got this, you would feel better. And you could get that, and if you got that, you'd have more friends. When is it enough? When will it ever stop? This mentality of never being enough, in my mind, as I thought about it this week, seems to have been passed from generation to generation. This is my version of it. Each generation telling the next one what's expected for them to be good enough. So first it was manners, then your grades, then whatever sport you were in or hobby or dance or other activities. That's where you learned. You got to be good, got to be good. Go, go, go. Work hard, work hard. Next, it's your appearance, your hair, your image, your clothing, your style, the way you talk. I look at Melody and her friends. You know, they've got so many code things going on. I don't know what's happening in front of me. You know, she sends me so many texts during the day from school, and I have to really debrief. What is she saying to me? Exactly. And then sometimes I put a big question mark. Huh? What are you asking me? And then when we're done with hair, image, and clothing choices, then we start getting input from other people on our social behaviors. What's the right way to behave? What's the acceptable way to behave? Oh, no, you don't do that in public. And you certainly don't eat like that in public. Then comes the advice on career choices. And salaries, let's not forget that. Oh, you chose that field, but you're not making very much money. Are you going to make more money than that? And eventually it leads to relationships. Oh, I can't believe they picked that person. Oh, well, that's not who I saw you with. And why do you need to see me with anybody? And finally comes the feedback on how we raise our children. Yes, oh boy. You know, if you'd only taught them that, and if you'd only told them this. But is it just me, or is this a never-ending story? Has it ever stopped for anyone in this room where people stopped telling you, advising you, guiding you on what you need to do to be enough? And with that same question, I would ask you this. Is there any doubt in our mind right now as to why we don't feel like we're enough? Because the world does not reinforce it, and neither do we. We don't reinforce it. So my hope for us today is that we're going to course correct ourselves. And then we're going to help society do the same. Not just for our sanity, but for everybody's sanity. And it all starts with self-acceptance. That's the first step in believing we're enough. Now I'm going to ask you, let's start with men and women. Okay, I'm going to ask you, how many of you questioned how you looked when you went out the door? Raise your hand. Okay, how many of you every day do the should I, shouldn't I? Should I wear this? Should I wear that? Oh, wait, maybe that looks ridiculous. You know, fortunately for me, I have a mirror in the house with Melody. She just looks at me and I know it's not going to be good. Yeah. She's like, this is the look I get. And I ask, what is it? Hair? Dress? What is it? It's just, Okay, so then I go back to my room, and what am I thinking? Oh, God, it's already not going to be a good day. I already feel bad about myself. Instead of saying, I don't care what you think, and why did I ask you in the first place, right? But self-acceptance says I can ask for that feedback, but it's okay if I don't like what I hear. But the big thing is, why do we ask? Why do we ask? If we already accept ourselves, we wouldn't ask. And that unconditional love for ourselves, despite our flaws, despite our limitations, it's that spiritual self that we have to see, not the outside. It's the spiritual self. But for some reason, that is always in the background. Ironically, those of us who are always trying to better ourselves from a spiritual perspective and bring our God-given talents to the world, right, and serve where we're needed, we continually question whether or not we're showing up the way we need to. But when we're doing those things, we never think about our self-worth. We just feel good about what we're doing. And then afterwards, on the way back, did I do enough? Should I have helped more? Maybe I should have stayed longer. It just starts again. When we accept ourselves as the divine beings we are, the totally God-driven beings. And what I mean by that is that God energy, that divine energy, I don't care what you call God, but there is a power bigger than us. I believe it, I know it, I feel it, I've lived it. When the worst things in your life are happening and all of a sudden you feel that sense that you're going to be just fine. But we don't need to get to that place of desperation every single time before we start feeling that kind of unconditional love. And before we're freed from the doubts, the burden of self-doubt, and that insecurity that comes over us. Affirmations such as, I am a perfect expression of the divine, or I am enough just as I am, could actually change our mindset and align us with our spiritual truth. And these affirmations remind us of our inherent good and help us to cultivate this positive and empowering self-image where we don't question what we did in a given moment. Yes, many of us say things we shouldn't say in a given moment. And when we feel badly, that's one thing to question. That's how we learn in life. But it's when we doubt us, when we haven't done anything to doubt. That's where it becomes a problem. In her book, The Gifts of Imperfection, Brené Brown explains that we must be able to express courage and compassion for ourselves in order for us to live authentically and to feel like we belong. And she shares how our belonging is our responsibility, no one else's. No one can make us feel we belong. And many of us have spent a lifetime thinking it's other people's responsibility to help us belong. But you have to do that for yourself. You know, all the excuses people have about why they don't belong, those are just excuses. You got to put in the work if you want to belong. You have to make yourself part of something else. No one's coming and knocking on your door and saying, hey, you feel like belonging? You got to get out there. You got to find your tribe. You got to figure this stuff out. It's one of the reasons I love this family, this community. Since 1998, I have seen this community. But I know I'm never alone, and I'm always going to be accepted no matter what day it is. And no matter what shoes I pick for the day. Brené Brown also explains how in our efforts to be enough, we often find ourselves stuck in this damaging cycle of perform, please, and perfect. Perform, please, and perfect, shaming ourselves for our shortcomings and hiding them from others. We search for perfection in other people, and actually, we compare ourselves to other people. And then we feel less than when we don't measure up. And then we think they're less than when they don't measure up. But as Brene Brown explains, we do not need to continue to prove ourselves because there are no prerequisites to being good enough. There is nothing we had to do besides come into this lifetime to be enough. That was it. You were already enough when you were born. The rest of the junk you told yourself came from your human journey. We have been influenced by our human journey. Right now, she said, exactly as we are good enough. Think about all the messages that you're receiving all day long. And imagine if believing we are enough is not just a mental exercise, if it became a chosen way of life. Could we actually walk out of here today and for 7 straight days believe we were enough? Is it possible we could? Okay, I'm going to challenge us. And every time you hear yourself that you're not good enough, could you do me a favor and tell yourself that's simply not true? It's not true. Being anything less than who we came here to be will continue to create doubt about our self-worth. We have to embrace our authentic self, express our authentic gifts and our talents, and stop apologizing for who we are. But that requires us to stop searching for external validation of being enough. Stop looking at how many people like your post. Stop it. You should like your post. That should have been where it ended. The kids, they're always looking. Who looked at it? Who looked at it? Well, when they're taking pictures of an eye or an ear, nobody should be looking at it. I don't even know what that's about. I really don't. Oh, look, here's the ceiling of my car. Okay, great. And you wonder why you didn't get liked. I don't know. I am constantly reminding our community about the importance of being in service to others through volunteering. If you ever want to feel like you're enough, start there. Because when you're doing selflessly for others, you feel this immense gift from God that you have done what you came here to do. When we serve in all these capacities, whether it's singing in the choir, sharing our love and light with the world, affirming we are enough, that any contribution we make is enough. Even those of us in caretaking roles, we need to remind ourselves we're enough. Even if it's not perfect, we're enough. The journey to believing we are enough presents challenges, though, such as self-doubt, fear, and being resistant. But our unity principles provide the tools and wisdom for us to use. Let's face it, we're always going to have fear factors in our life. Oh my gosh! Oh no, that's bad news. I know it's bad news. But fear doesn't define us. When we face our fears with courage and faith, we can reclaim our power. And let's remember our tendency to have limiting thoughts and beliefs that we affirm will become the story that we continue to repeat to others. And once you've said the story, it's out there. So be careful the story that you're telling. And we all know our ego is going to mess with us. We're part of a strong community, a spiritual community. And when we seek help from like-minded people, we always feel better. It's the unlike-minded people that we seek advice from or need from that are going to point out our flaws. So if you can't take the heat, don't ask the question. Because it's better not to ask. They're going to tell you what's wrong, no matter what you think. Believing we are enough is transformative and empowering. And as we journey toward our divine truth, we discover that joy and fulfillment that comes from knowing we are a perfect expression of the divine. I want to share a poem. I don't know if my brother Tom's watching today, but thank you for the poem. So he sent me this poem, divinely ordered. I get it the day after I'm trying to finish this. And here's this beautiful poem. God's Hall of Fame is the name of the poem. Alf Hutchinson. And I want you to just listen. I'm going to read the whole thing as it is. Your name may not appear down here in this world's Hall of Fame. You may be so unknown, few even know your name. Fame and fortune pass you by and are given to a few. But if you love and serve the Lord, then there is good news for you. This Hall of Fame is only good as long as time shall be. But keep in mind, God's Hall of Fame is for eternity. To have your name inscribed up there is greater, yes, by far, than all the halls of fame down here and every man-made star. This crowd on earth, they soon forget the heroes of the past. They cheer like mad until you fall, and that's how long you last. But God, he never forgets, and in his Hall of Fame, by just believing in his Son inscribed, you'll find your name. I tell you, friend, I wouldn't trade my name, however small, that's written there beyond the stars in that celestial hall. For every famous name on earth or glory that they share, I'd rather be an unknown here and have my name up there. Let's review today's lessons. Believing we are enough will lead us to the following: embracing our true selves, a perfect expression of the divine. Number 2, self-acceptance, love, and inner peace, which helps us unlock our full potential. Loving ourselves unconditionally will limit self-doubt and insecurity. And number 4, to live authentically with courage and strength. And of course, the affirmation is, I believe I am enough. Let's do that again. I believe I am enough. And I chose a quote from Brené Brown. Believing that you're enough is what gives you the courage to be authentic, vulnerable, and imperfect. Let's take that in. So we pause now to say thank you, God, for the powers that we were given at birth and the opportunity to share our unique expression of those powers and of ourselves without judgment, without worry, without any level of input that takes us off the strength that we are a divine child of this mighty universe. And so it is. Amen.